tell us more about these moves and how they fit into the trade negotiations.
Yeah, well, these moves by the Trump administration are basically telling China, this bigger strategic conflict is going to continue no matter what happens with the trade deal. And I think we've seen that from the U.S. government, from the security agencies in particular, from the Defense Ministry, the Pentagon, and from the State Department, where they're essentially telling China, look, we've got wider issues with you that span a range of interests. So we see that in Taiwan most explicitly. This is China's biggest red line, of course. And the fact that the U.S. keeps sending warships through the Taiwan Straits at these sensitive moments, coincidentally, usually right before the trade talks start, signal this pretty clearly. We've also had the president of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, in Hawaii for a stopover, and she gave a talk to the Heritage Foundation overnight.
Has China responded at all? What's the likely response from Beijing?
Beijing, they've kept it pretty cool. They've responded with their strategic composure is the term they give to it, and they just kind of are, usually issue the same kinds of statements every time, warning the U.S. don't really escalate things here, don't test us. It's become kind of the U.S. will do it, China will respond. It's the same thing. Life goes on. But what we're seeing that's particularly more interesting lately is the fact that the U.S. is pressing China on Tibet and on Xinjiang lately, which is a new thing. Mike Pompeo hosting Uyghur exiles at the State Department and pressing on that issue, which is, all these things kind of add up for China. They're seeing their frontier areas where they're very sensitive about losing control, suddenly, coming up, being raised by U.S. officials constantly.
Yeah, Dan, you have to wonder, I guess, if they were so sensitive and so concerned about those border regions, why they are locking up, according to many accounts, up to 1 million, if not 1 million, Uyghurs and Kazakhs in internment camps that many, of course, have described as effectively concentration camps. Is the case of the plight of the Uyghurs and the communities in Xinjiang, is that gaining traction now in the U.S.?
Yes, it appears so. I mean, this was an issue that was kind of on the periphery. We hadn't heard much about it. We haven't really heard Trump tweet about it. We did hear Pompeo. He had a tweet last year referencing that situation, but it looks like the U.S. is stepping that up. They've had their religious freedom report as well, mentioning that. So this is a new area, a pressure point for the U.S. to hit China over, and China is very sensitive about the region, partly because they're locking up so many Uyghurs, is because they're worried about instability in the region. They're worried that they don't have it totally under control, and they need to take these drastic measures to re-educate, as they say. Others would say, brainwash or something like that, this population, to get them under the control of the Chinese Communist Party and make sure that they don't do anything to subvert them.